So what does this indicate? What possibly are we looking at? And is this again an indication of the many fault lines in the world today? Let's get Professor Madhav Nalapat, who has written extensively on a lot of these issues that affect world capitals throughout. Sir, thank you for speaking to us on Republic. How would you respond or, just opine on what we are seeing, these images that have come in from the Russian airport? They've been viral on the social media. People have their own takes. Some say this is good, some say this is bad. But clearly what's happened, many would say, is not acceptable, keeping in mind that these are images that have come in from the Russian airport. And do remember, before we get Professor Madhav Nalapat to respond to that, another update for all our viewers, that number of these flights, remember, could not even land at the Russian airport there. They were either diverted. More than 60 people have been picked up by the law enforcement agencies there in Russia because the situation continued to be very, very volatile. And to ensure that nothing goes out of control, you've seen action by the Russian authorities there. And like I said earlier, you've also seen the Israeli authorities reacting to what has been happening, and they say this is completely unwarranted and they must ensure that all their citizens in Russia are kept safe. So multiple questions will arise, and let me see if we do have Professor Madhav Nalapat with us. Sir, if you can hear me, good evening, and thank you, sir, for speaking to us on Republic. How would you opine on what's really going on, and what do these images from Russia really, tell us more about? Are these just the fault lines, the fissures because of the Israel-Hamas war, or do you believe there is something deeper behind what we see now?
Well, I'd like to say it's evidence of success of the massive disinformation campaign that has been spreading through the world, in which, for example, you have artificial intelligence manufactured videos. For example, you had the video of an individual in Gaza carrying 5 babies severely wounded and 2 who had passed away in his arms. Well, that was artificially manufactured by artificial intelligence. So you have a huge disinformation campaign which is sending the most shocking images, the most shocking anecdotes of the situation in Gaza. It is definitely a very bad situation. In humanitarian terms, it is definitely a crisis. But the reality is that when you have that kind of artificial intelligence motivated and driven disinformation campaigns, and certainly this campaign is very sophisticated, there needs to have been very high-level technical talent. I mean, I would say superpower talent behind this kind of a campaign, behind this kind of imagery. Well, I think then you are basically, lighting flares or seeking to light flares in different parts of the world. So this is what, frankly, the Hamas would like. They would like to see this kind of situation take place in different parts of the world, so that finally the world will come to terms with them and basically, continue as before. Now, we have seen multiple instances in which there have been terror attacks, and then the response has been, all right, we'll continue as before. We're not going to do anything about it. Now, you saw, for example, the attack in Mumbai, and after that, well, very little happened after that, and things continued as before. But the fact of the matter is that if Hamas gets away with this, then it's only going to basically incentivize terror groups across that particular region and in different parts of the world. So there needs to be a situation where the Israeli authorities can put under control some very extremist Israeli settlers who have been going around in Palestinian territory and trespassing on it and building settlements on it. Those settlements are illegal. They should be displaced. At the same time, it's very, very important to call out terror for what it is. And may I point out that Russia, unfortunately, because of its linkages with China, the superpower, they were unable to call out Hamas. They were unable to condemn the terror attack which has been conducted against Israel. And this is despite the fact a large number of citizens in Russia belong to a Jewish community. And the Jewish community has contributed a lot to Russia. So I think it's just a sign that this disinformation campaign that is spreading hate and violence across the world, it's a danger signal. Russia, what happened there is a danger signal. I think the rest of the world needs to be very, very careful that rhetoric is not used, that images are not used, that inflame passions, especially images that are morphed and produced artificially.
Okay, I think that's a very important point that you do bring up, Madhav Nalapat. And as always, thank you for speaking to us on Republic. And clearly, that story, like Professor Madhav Nalapat also said, has evoked some very, very sharp reactions. Lot more details, as always, will also go on republicworld.com. And these are images, again, like he also said, have terrified the world. They're very, very scary. Let's bring up more details on the story now.